I'm speechless. Arizona Airspeed, that is, just posted a new record, and they're behaving like
children. Even worse, like Formula One drivers.
Anyhow, welcome to a new NSL Live Talk. It is the day after the FS Championships in Eloy. And first of all, I want to extend congratulations and best greetings from your friends of the Peanut Gallery. Right?
They're the best pundits in all of skydiving.
Aren't they? So thanks for doing this again. And I mean, literally, just like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, we had a debriefing of your last 10 rounds, competition rounds. And they were pretty impressed. And I want to say my own congratulations first of all too, because it is, at least unofficially, the highest average in the history of formation skydiving competition. Are you happy?
Yeah.
Did you party?
No,
No.
I didn't. I never did.
I saw you eat
We allowed to
brownies
say that?
and
We allowed to
cookies.
say a little?
Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
Take your glasses off. Show the real damage.
Hey, I've been working all morning.
He's got his goggles on, can't you see? Look around his neck.
So we got the debriefing from Gary and Joey and David. So now let's hear the debriefing of Airspeed. Are you actually happy with the performance, or we have talked not too long ago before the competition here on site, and you had set some goals and and wanted to do things a bit differently and better at this competition compared to the Mondial, Cloud Mondial, NSL Cloud Mondial.
Well, we pieced together a competition. We accomplished our goals. We pieced together a performance. If you go through it just technically, there's loads of issues with our performance, but as a whole, we put the pieces together, so to speak. For most of the 10 rounds, I'd say. I mean, we had our ups and downs, and if it were a world meet, even some of our greatest rounds, we would want to do better in those rounds. Our round one was we were really happy with it, but if it were a world meet, that would need to be like a world record round, but where we're at right now, we're fine with it. We, like you said, we accomplished our goals. We put together a performance. We kind of peaked at that meet, and we'll kind of leave it at that. And then we'll study it over the next month. We'll kind of study our weaknesses a bit and attack it next year.
That's the thing. I think the Mondial, for all the relaxed approach and attitude we had, it kind of reminded us where we needed to be to do well at this meet. So I feel like credit to the Mondial that we actually did it. We submitted it, and we got a little bit of a rash from it, which made us take this more seriously. I'm not saying we wouldn't have taken it seriously in anyways, but I think they definitely complemented each other,
Yeah.
And as far as the meet is concerned, we're super happy with the first day and had a little bit of a rough going on the first 3 rounds of the second day. So that would have been rounds 6, 7, and 8. And then I felt like round 9 and 10 we kind of tied it together more, but we like Joey said, it's funny when you do a 29.3 average, you can still see where you can do a 30. Granted the draw was fast, but still it was for us as a first-year team. Joked on December 2nd is our 1-year anniversary, so the goals we have for this year, I feel like we've accomplished those. Me, as a very experienced competitor and Airspeed member, did my highest indoor average ever with this lineup, and I did my highest outdoor average ever with this lineup. So with that, I mean, this team is as good as I've ever been. So good job. Yeah.
Good point. So Christopher, going from ranch second generation to the highest average in the history of formation skydiving competition within a year and a half. How do you feel?
Just happy to be here. No, it's been a lot of learning. I moved to a different slot and yeah, just the
Different
support.
slot too,
different state,
that's
yeah,
right.
different state, different slot. Sort of changed the whole life, and like I said, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else with any other teammates.
From New York State to a little apartment here on Eloy downtown, whatever.
Toltec, yeah.
Toltec, right? Roommates with Joey. Right?
Yeah.
How does it work for you? Are you
It's great.
happy with the environment? Or is it
Super
worth
happy.
from New York upstate?
I mean, it's definitely a change, but to get to do this every day, I mean, it's a dream. You're living the dream. You hear a lot of people joke about it, but it's true.
You hear it.
Yeah.
I agree. A lot of people are dreaming it up about it. Myself and lots of other guys. So, Taylor, you too. Yes.
Yeah.
You're brand new to this project.
Yeah. I didn't look at the score sheets. Was there any video bus?
No.
All the buses were video bus.
What do I? No, it's
Wasn't our fault.
it's an honor to be here, and I thank them constantly for the opportunity to jump with them. It really is special. It really is.
There weren't too many buses at all, right? 2, 3. That's I find quite impressive. That the scores are going up and up, and the pace is becoming faster and faster, and the performance is becoming cleaner and cleaner.
Thank you so much.
How do you explain that, Mikhail?
I think the biggest impact to that is what we can do on a fast round. If there are fast rounds in the draw, and we have 2 of them on this particular draw, that's where all the points come from. Then we had, 4, 5, 3 blockers?
Yeah.
Like it's an absurd amount of work for very little payback. Then you have the two fast rounds, and you add a ton of points up top. So as long as you can get what you want out of the fast rounds, I think the rest kind of takes care of itself. I wouldn't really make a comment about the number of busts because we just focused on each other. There wasn't anything special.
Well, it was very helpful also for them at the same time because it was pretty easy for them yesterday to answer the question, what is the team going to work on, from here on forward? Because of that, the clear answer is the fast sequences, obviously. So it's because on the other rounds they weren't far behind, right?
Yeah.
No team would be, right? I mean, sometimes even when Hayabusa at Nationals in 2019, they did a 28-9. There's a lot of rounds where we were right there with him. Even I think beat him on 1 round, so it's you can be 2 seconds ahead and get the same score, or you could be 3.5 seconds ahead and only get 1 more point. But in a random round, you're talking 5-6 points right there. So, or even a faster round, So, I feel like we talked about this before, but if you go back and score the time the block from 2010 in Menselinsk World Meet, those block times are very competitive if you compare the best block times from any of those top teams. What has gotten better is continuity, tunnels, random work, accuracy. All those things are increasing our averages. We're getting faster on the faster sequences. Some of the block work has been refined over decades, And it still holds true that we can gain a little bit, but there's a random sequence in every SCADA. There's only 1 block 10 on 1 round. And if you see it no more than maybe 4 to 6 times, and then you're done with it, So.
And a broader repertoire in the continuity plan. gives you the option to engineer smarter when it comes to the fast sequences. We saw different formations.
But this is where Hayabusa is kind of had a one up on Airspeed for a while, even starting in the tunnel in 2011 and 12, you know, and also in free fall, random sequences. Airspeed has always been pretty good at blocks and exits, but Hayabusa caught up there too, you know. So in the end of the day, I feel like a 3-blocker, you're going to see even Nationals 2019, where all Rhythm, Airspeed, and Hayabusa all scored the same, you know. So I feel like there's no anomaly there.
You mentioned that earlier, that you know the engineering is almost the most important topic at the moment, to become familiar with all kind of different varieties. Is that more important than literally practicing fast sequences? Being good with random transitions?
I think they kind of go hand in hand a little bit, you know? I mean, the thing is like with, if you're working on fast random sequences, you need to have accuracy, and through that accuracy you develop a flow, right? And when we pick skydives in a competition, our number one priority is a skydive that flows. Now, when we're training, the goal is to say what is the most efficient skydive and make that flow. So we train to make perhaps the hardest thing, but the most efficient thing, the highest potential thing, have flow to it. So when it comes, it's different sides of the coin, so to speak. When you're practicing fast randoms, you're just practicing that flow. When you're working on engineering, you're trying to get those hard engineering challenges to flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's a totally different scenario when you are coaching teams, right? Weekend teams and recreational teams. Like you are coaching Rebellion, you're coaching many national teams from other countries and all that kind of stuff. One of the main things, you know, that I have heard so many times when people say, well, can't we do this? Isn't that faster? And then the answer is always the same, right? Stick with what you're familiar with. So the same variety of trying doesn't count for normal teams, does it?
It's because we have more resources, right? We have the resources that we have no excuses, so to speak, right? So we can do all the most challenging things. But for a team with limited resources, then you have to make some logical decisions there. You know what I mean? And that's it. But yeah, what's great that we've been learning, or that I've been learning since joining the team, is that there's really like kind of a playlist for your continuity. At least for us, it's almost, you could go through it, like especially if you go through alternate blocks, you can really prioritize which ones you need at which time. You know, like you need that alternate 20 before you need the alternate 3. You know, if you don't have a good alternate 20, maybe the alternate 3 it's lower priority. You know, and like the short 19 is like a very, very high priority requirement. It comes up all the time. The short 4, still important to have, but doesn't really come up as much, you know? So you kind of you can really grow your continuity in like a checklist.
So you're making a plan for 100 training jumps, a team with 100 training jumps, then there's a plan for 200 training jumps, a plan for a team with 300 training jumps.
Yeah.
And they apply the short 4 and not the short 19 or the short 19. And then
Exactly.
That being true though, up until we started embarking on 28 averages or high 27 averages, there's no exotic engineering. Just keep that in mind. It's 2012, 2010, Hayabusa, even in Australia, 2018. There's no exotic engineering there. They're all straight up. They will have a world record with straight up engineering. Airspeed took an exotic engineering on random, blew it on the exit, but they still beat us. You know.
Great point. So it begins at a real high level.
So I mean, you have to maybe introduce a vision for the future, kind of maybe that's what we're talking about here, you know. So if you're a team that wants to break a 20 average, I would definitely stay familiar with familiarity, which is standard continuity.
Wow, so in other words, basically between like a 100 jump scenario or 50 jump scenario and whatever, and airspeed 28 average, not now, it is the same continuity plan, roughly.
I would say I wouldn't say a training volume. I would say average. You know, if you do a 20 average, you're pretty experienced. If you do a 15 average, then you're less experienced. And then if you are doing a 20 average, you've been with the same team for 5 years, doing 200 jumps a year. I think that the monotony maybe it's fun to do something different to spark, some different dynamics in your training. I think it would be important, you know. But I feel like instead of having a training plan based on jump numbers, maybe a training plan based on goals and where you want to go and what you're doing in the moment, you know. But then tunnel time, right? If you're in the tunnel, I definitely encourage to experiment for fun. Just educate yourself, because what works for one team doesn't work for a different team. And if you have some more tunnel, especially in the wintertime when you're not going to jump for a few months and you end up just doing the same stuff over and over again, dedicate a few sessions for funky engineering stuff, just for fun, just to feel it, even if it's crazy, go for it.
Just for an experience.
Chris is our crazy engineering guru guy. He wants to try righty 15s and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Well, the same counts for slots, right? Try different slots just for fun.
Yeah, ask this guy.
And he does skydives that are like asymmetrical. Like each page is a different, different dive.
It's the future, guys. It's the future.
And different slots. I mean, this guy, he's hitting it up, cooking it up. He's like, little bit of this, little bit of that.
I mean, why can't inside center and point do the 18 together? You know, that's the future.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I mean, we have experience doing it.
I mean, it sounds so funny, but the peanut gallery guys, they talked about the same things.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen eventually.
Yeah,
you know,
that's where the average is going to grow. in the
Point
future.
center inside will do some blocks.
In some way, they started it, right?
Hello.
In some way, Hayabusa started this. It was for Airspeed. It was the Montreal meet in 2016 or was it 17? 17. That meet for us showed that we had to do exotic engineering. We got whooped on engineering alone, let alone like separately from the normal layers of performance. So and that was driven by Hayabusa. It was driven by the Wimby team or
That's
I
right,
forget
high
now.
rollers. Yeah.
But the point is that European crowd is spearheading a lot of this stuff, where we're trying to make it our own and put new layers on it, you know, eventually.
What's great about the European crowd doing a fundamentally different continuity from like the American crowd is that you really get to study what a righty continuity or a mirrored continuity, like what are its strengths, when does it shine, and you get to see our continuity, when does our continuity shine, and then when you're trying to think of the future, you're really trying to merge the two and say, well, how can I incorporate the strengths of both? You know?
But that's what the Europeans are riding on, because they studied airspeed in the American community for so long. And out of that, magic, which is, Joe, Gary, Solly, I mean, they perfected that plan, and then here we are, So I feel like it's always that trade-off,
That's a new generation. Well, it is still a fact that SDC Rhythm XP is the US national team going to the next World Meet. That's a fact. What kind of advice, after seeing them and their videos now for a while, you see where they are and they've been competing here, what kind of advice would you have for them to get to, your US pals? So you wish the best for the delegation, obviously. So what kind of advice would you have for them to train to get better and possibly challenge Hayabusa, at the next World Meet?
Well, I don't really know enough about them to. I mean, I can see some of their jumps, but you kind of have to be on the inside to know really fundamentally what they need to do to win, and I don't have that insight. And what I can say is that compete. So any opportunity they have to compete, they have to compete. Because in the end of the day, for all of them, it's the first time they're going to go to a world meet. And when you're at a world meet, it's a whole different ball game when you're wearing that flag on your arm, And it gives you strength, but it also put some of the other experiences you have pales in comparison, And I don't know. I feel like mental toughness training is something that I would definitely incorporate. That's even more important when the moment arises to perform. And technically, I feel like they are all smart enough to be able to handle any kind of technical evaluation and assessment where they're at and where they need to go. But the other part is definitely that, because when the moment is right, you have to be able to do the best you have. It's easy to go home and debrief and try to be courageous in your training, but you have to be courageous when it matters. When the moment is requiring you to do the best you have. So perform 98% capacity is not an option. 101% is the only option. And for that, I feel like this lineup has shown that this year at Wing Games and this year at this meet, that an all random around one, that's a tall order for anyone. The previous two world records was set halfway through the meet or in the later part of the meet. So I'm pretty happy with that first random for us,
So, in other words, a Cloud Mondial every week then, or let's say every other week.
Until morale improves.
Nope.
I love that.
Maybe monthly.
Blue skies, go compete, right? I've heard this for a long time, actually, this kind of thing. All right, well, you heard it, everybody. It is not only advice for SEC Rhythm XP, and it is not only the philosophy by Airspeed, it's good for everybody, right? And it's really why we're doing what we're doing. Well, how was jumping from the DC3 and who was in the DC3 and who was in the Twin Beach?
We were all in the DC3.
Yeah.
You were all in the DC3?
Doug was in the Twin Beach.
Yeah.
Doug Barron.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had Steve Lefkowitz with us too.
Yeah. The four of us plus Steve Lefkowitz and Craig O'Brien were hanging on the outside of the DC3.
First DC3 jump?
No.
No, they just a couple of days before they were doing 3 ways or 4 ways out of it.
Really?
Yeah. It's just them and.
I think it was Steve's first time floating.
So we jumped the DC3, we had it to ourselves. Yeah.
It was a lot more crowded this time.
It almost was hardly about the formation itself. I think it was not complete, was it?
No, but it's back in the day apparently you had to do a whole lot of diving just for half a point.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do that at the end of a meet. It was a lot of fun floating that much. We had a whole bunch of people dive floating, so getting out of the aircraft, turning around, and tracking up, and that's a way different experience. You're tracking up, and you think, oh, that must be the base. No, still not the base. No, it's like elevator music playing in your head. It's like, ding, ding, it's up there. Yeah.
I'm looking for ticket 105. 105. You? No.
It's funny because Becky and Ginger just gave us a
And by the
little,
way, all those other people didn't make it.
All those ones.
All those people down there. Well, you're not making it. Neither are you. Yeah.
We have to go back to we did 40-way competitions from DC3.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It was fun. So we have to restart this somehow. It was so much fun. Now the people who did it, maybe.
Well, they would be looking back at us and be like shaking their heads and going like, "What happened to these people?" They would be like,
Yeah, but seriously, like a sub 10-second speed star is a big deal these days, right?
Yeah.
That's a joke to compare to what used to happen.
Yeah.
Different rule set
So-
too, granted.
Fair enough, but we've got a different tool set, and we've lost skills that people have had in the
And
past.
completing a 40-way from only a DC3 is still a different scenario than from a Twin Beach and from a
Yeah.
DC3 because you have already shown so many people in the other plane, but everybody from the DC3 makes it even a little longer. Well, but okay, so 40-way competition next year.
You're organizing it? You're gonna put it together?
Maybe.
Z Hills.
Maybe I'm gonna
Land.
stick with a 4-way
Wherever.
competition. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, the Hills. Well, I don't know how many DC3s we have. This is the only one that I see flying.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do it here.
It's a gem on an aircraft.
Yeah. I'm sure the Hills would be happy to do it too.
Yeah. They love firing up those piston aircraft whenever they can. Whenever they have a good excuse to do it.
They're running the
love
beach
doing
again
it.
today for fun jumping.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the 40-way competition. I can tell that it's fun. I mean, I like 4-way better than 40-way, but it's fun to do it.
well, we have a fun 10-way speed star event here every Christmas boogie where we do 2 jumps from Otter, Skyven, and DC3. And Chris's mom always wins.
Yeah, my mom does always win. Good job.
There's an all-female team that kicks ass every year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
2 of them
cool.
were over there, I believe, too.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna move on from here. What's next for Airspeed?
Well, these guys are training 8-way for next month. And then Airspeed gets back to training in January. We have worked out our schedule for next year in triplicate because you have plan A, B, and C.
I think Plan A is already scrapped.
Yeah.
We
Like,
could possibly adapt to Plan C now. And
yeah,
I believe
E and F are brewing.
It's
Yeah.
B 2.0.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, we're on the same boat, so hopefully
We all
at some
are.
point.
We're just making the best we can out of this.
And being that we are a private team, we're not like publicly funded like the Golden Knights or Hayabusa. We're actually quite nimble with the resources we have. We can change on a dime, and that is something that really benefits us in this time period. So
And that's why you live in, what's it called? Toltec now. Toltec.
Change it to dime. VFS next year? Airspeed
All right, Chris, your food is getting cold here.
It's a
so-
salad anyway.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
Listen into that. Good luck with everything, and we'll talk again in January at the latest.
yeah.
Put it on.
Thank you, Kurt.